Hello folks, Allan from Kildare Psychotherapy and Counselling here, coming to you from down in the office in Kildare town, and you will see the sand tray figures over this shoulder, and you'll see some of the books that have been lodged in some way in here over that shoulder. So we're all getting a little bit pissed off with the lockdown at the moment, probably feeling a little bit isolated, some people are probably feeling very lonely, and that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at isolation and loneliness. So as a client said to me during the week in describing her experience of the lockdown, it's getting to be a pain in the tits. And it really is. We're really, we've been at this now for, 10 weeks, I think we're at the moment. So it's beginning to take its toll. Going back to one of the very first videos I did, actually I think it was the first video that I put up, I had said in it that, we are going to see, this having an impact on mental health, and how right I was. It wasn't a prophecy of any sort of kind. It was just, this is going to happen. So what a lot of people are experiencing now is they're experiencing the isolation of the lockdown. They may be stuck at home, stuff like that. And they may be experiencing loneliness. Now they are two very different things. And that's the first thing to address. You can be alone and not feel lonely. And likewise, you can be in the middle of a crowd and still feel lonely. They're very different experiences. So just because you're on your own doesn't mean that you're necessarily lonely. Just because you're isolated, you could be living out in the wilds of Donegal or something like that and not feel lonely. Or you can be in a residential area, you can have some friends, you can be in the middle of Crow Park and you could feel lonely. So they're very different experiences. A large part of this loneliness is something you've heard me bang on about in other videos, and you're probably going, oh fuck me if he says that humans are social creatures again, but we are, and this is why we're experiencing that loneliness at the moment. We did evolve in tribes. There was large benefits to being social creatures. We had the tribe to protect us, and we also, this is going back to very basic levels. You had the tribe to protect you, and you had access to mates. So if you're on your own, you don't have that. If you live in a community, if there's a tribe and an extended tribe, you have those things. You've got the tribe to watch out for you if you're injured or if you're sick, and you have access to the opposite sex to reproduce. So even from a very basic, primitive standpoint of survive and reproduce, the tribe helped you very much with that. So that need to feel connected, that need to feel understood, that need to feel seen, all of this is what goes along with loneliness. One very common misconception that I see with a lot of clients, particularly clients that are in relationships, is you don't experience that in your relationship. And that's the worst kind of experience of loneliness, because you think that you have a partner, that you have a husband or a wife or a spouse there, and that you shouldn't feel lonely. But you do, because you don't feel understood, you don't feel you matter, you don't feel important, you don't feel seen, you don't feel connected. And so that's an even worse experience of loneliness than if you were on your own, where there's that expectation of, well, I don't have a partner, therefore that's why I'm lonely. And also, it's not about the quantity of friends, it's about quality. So for people that have 2,000 friends on Facebook, I'm here to tell you, you don't have 2,000 friends. Thanks for checking the video out so far, folks. If you could do me a big huge favor, if you could hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button here on the video, if you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to click on the bell there so you'll receive notifications every time a new video is put up. Also comment below and let me know what you're thinking of the video so far. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your feelings around loneliness, if it's something you've experienced, if it's something you know that a friend is experiencing. Let me know how you're feeling about the subject. So why does loneliness hurt us? Why are we, probably more lonely now than we ever have been, despite having the internet, despite having social media, which leads us to think that we're more connected than ever. But of course, we're not experiencing real face-to-face contact, feeling held by a person, feeling tactile contact from a person, seeing a person smile. That's not the same as an emoji that you get in a WhatsApp message. So we miss out on very basic human interaction. In one of the previous videos, you would have heard me mention of how rejection and ostracization literally hurts the brain. The brain lights up as if it's experiencing physical pain. Why would it do that? Because that need to get back into the group, to quit whatever it is that you're doing that has led to you being ostracized, that has led to you being left out by the group, meant that your brain was going, you need to cut this shit out. We need to get back in there. Because as you would have heard me say before, if you were on your own, you were dead. Something at you, you were vulnerable. Pack of wild animals, they're going to tear you apart if you're on your own. So very real basic human survival needs to get back into the group. When you're hungry, your body sends a signal that to seek out food, seek out nutrients, seek out energy providing sustenance that we get with that physical experience of hunger. When we experience loneliness, that's our body craving, that's our brain craving social connection, social interaction. And it is that as deeply embedded as that need for hunger. We need social interaction. And to feel like we don't have that is very painful. We go into pure survival mode to seek out connection, to seek out physical social contact. So an interesting study going back to, I think, March of this year, just before lockdown happened, interesting timing, was a study that showed that our need to connect, our need to be socially interacted with is as deeply ingrained as our need to eat. The other thing to understand about loneliness is it's completely subjective. It is psychological. So if somebody says that you're not lonely and you feel you are lonely. It's not that you have to meet a specific criteria to feel lonely. Don't be dismissed by someone that says you're not lonely. So how could you be lonely? You've got loads of friends, or you have a girlfriend or a partner or a husband, whatever it may be. If you feel lonely, you are lonely. It's a completely subjective experience. Someone described to me before, in describing loneliness, as finding yourself alone when you don't choose to be. I had to disagree with that. It's not a criteria I would agree with. You can be on your own and not feel lonely. And just because your friends can't hang out this week, if traditionally that has been a very positive relationship with those, you will understand, oh, they're just busy this week. It does come down to that feeling of not being connected, not feeling understood, being on your own, not feeling there's a quality of relationship. So there's a lot of contributing factors in modern day society which has changed our world, which has led to increased feelings of loneliness. So one particular one that we're going to be particularly aware of in Ireland is house prices, etc. So what we've seen in the last few years is, going back to the boom times, pre-2008, was you've seen people that couldn't afford, particularly people in Dublin, etc., or large urban areas, they couldn't afford to buy houses in their community where they've grown up. But traditionally, up until maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people generally bought houses in the area that they grew up in, unless they had to move for work or stuff like that. And what that gave them still access to their childhood friends. That gave them access to their parents, which meant that they had a babysitter. So if they wanted to go out with the missus at the weekend, drop the kids off at your mother's or his mother's or whatever it may be, and you had access to a babysitter, which meant you could go out and you could socialise, you could mingle within the community. Very often we don't have that now. People have had to move vast distances away from their childhood home. They don't know their neighbours. Very often the neighbours are in the exact same position. They've had to move from someone else. Other modern day contributors to loneliness is work shifts. So with the invention of the light bulb, everything changed. You weren't just dictated to by the sun rising and setting. We could work indoors at any given time. So people work shift works, which become, of course, antisocial, because if your friends are working 9 to 5 and you're working 3 to 11 or something like that, you're going into work just as they're going home. So you miss out on that social connection with your friends, and that can affect your sleep patterns, that can affect our mental health. So an interesting statistic is 2/5, so 40% of individuals aged between 16 and 24 said that they feel lonely often or very often, which is, this is the young kids. These are the ones that are supposed to be more socially connected and supposed to have all of the friends and all of the social media. Yet, what the research shows is that these are actually the people that feel most lonely. These individuals that said that they felt the loneliest were the ones that had the most online only friends. So, are they your real friends? No, they're not. Does it feel really connected? No, it does not. But it's there, and the key word in the likes of social media is social. It's still trying to meet that need of being a social creature. Ireland, we had probably were world renowned for having the biggest and best social network in the Irish pub. So feeling lonely can have a huge impact on our mental health, not just our physical health, which I'll get into in a few minutes, but on our mental health, because it can feel like we can't maintain these relationships, that there's something wrong with me because I can't keep friends or because I can't maintain a relationship. So that feeds into then already low self-esteem, or if we have low self-esteem, then we'll be more reluctant to reach out to people because we don't want to be seen as a burden. Whereas, of course, people with low self-esteem, they're the first one to be there for their friends, but they don't want to feel that they're a burden, that they're a hassle, so they're more reluctant to reach out to people because of that feeling of loneliness. Studies have shown then that there's a little bit of a paradox then around feeling lonely, because the longer we feel lonely, the more we tend to self-isolate, the more we go into self-protective mode, we start to mistrust other people. It starts to, in some ways, breed in a little bit of paranoia, that we think, well, what does this person want from me? We get invited somewhere, we're less reluctant to go because we've gotten so used to being guarded, to looking after ourselves, to trying to protect ourselves, that we don't want to put ourselves in a position of being vulnerable. So we feel lonely. The longer that loneliness goes on, the less likely we are to actually engage in social activities. So as I said, loneliness can have a huge impact on our mental health, but it can also have, and does also have, a huge impact on our physical health. Loneliness, living alone, poor social connections has the same impact on our bodies as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness is worse for you than obesity. Lonely people are more likely to suffer from dementia, heart disease, and depression. Loneliness is likely to increase your chance of death by up to 29%. That's if you just feel lonely. If you live alone, that percentage goes up into something like 32 or 33%. People who are married, who are happily married, also tend to live longer. People who are in relationships, who have a partner, are more likely to recover from cancer. So lonely people, it's literally not good for us. Not good for our mental health and not good for our physical health. And this is research backed. The facts show this. This is what happens. Lonely people are more likely to die younger than people in happy relationships or people with better social connections. Loneliness hurts. Loneliness kills. A recent study also showed that loneliness is the greatest fear of young people today, ranking higher than losing a job or losing their home. We hear this with millennials when they talk about FOMO, fear of missing out. Loneliness is very real. We know what loneliness is, we know what some of the contributing factors are, and we know the impact of loneliness. So what can we do about it? So one of the first things, and one of the things that has been research back for a long time, is volunteering. So actually giving something back. If you want to get, give has always been an old expression. And this is where the volunteering and helping out, whether it's elderly members in the community, helping kids at risk, youth clubs, stuff like that, volunteering and giving something that gives life a sense of purpose, also creates social connections. Doing a random act of kindness, that can help. Seeing the impact that you can have on another stranger, making them smile, just making their day that little bit better. Hang out with like-minded people. So, get a hobby, start a sport. And not just, going to the gym. If you go to the gym, that's great. That's going to help with your physical fitness. But maybe perhaps doing a class in the gym. And so when you're bollocks at the end of a set, you look at the person and go, Jesus, I'm knackered after that. And they go, yeah, me too. So already you're connecting because there's a shared interest. So Anything like that that's going to bring you into contact with other people is going to help. The amount of times I've heard from clients, adult clients, saying, how the fuck do you make friends as a grown-up? And that's a very real question. You know, your kids out on the road, they just go, oh, you want to play football? Yeah, okay. And they'll go out and do that. It's so hard to do that as an adult because, you know, you get up, you go to work, you come home, you make your dinner, you go to bed, you chill out for a while. It's very difficult to make connections like that. Get a pet. Also proven to help with feelings of loneliness. Having something there that needs you to look after it, having something that comes in, snuggles on your lap, stuff like that, that's going to help. Ignore social media. I say this all the time, it's not real. People put up the best versions of themselves, and what lonely people do then is they compare themselves to that. So there's Johnny with his new girlfriend and they're out living life. Here I am sitting at home on my own. Unbeknownst to you, like Mary and John and Father Ted, they're probably fucking baiting the heads off each other when the pictures aren't being taken. So don't look at what's being put up as real life. Don't consider that to be an accurate representation of their relationship the whole time. So take social media, take your Instagram, take your Facebook, etc. with a grain of salt. Another factor to consider within your loneliness is look at the friends that you do have. You know, it's about quality, it's not quantity. It's not 2,000 Facebook friends. It's not 60 to 100 friends in your social circle. They're not real friends. They're not real connections. You're probably going to have maybe 5 close friends. If you have 2 close friends, if you have 3 close friends, that's a couple of people that care about you. That's a couple of people that you matter to. It's about quality. It's not about quantity. If you have one best friend that gets you, that knows you, that checks in on you, that cares about you, that's good enough. Another thing to watch out for in regards to loneliness is watch your alcohol use. So you're sitting at home, you're feeling lonely, you have a drink. The problem with alcohol then is alcohol tends to magnify what we're already feeling. So if we're feeling good, alcohol makes us feel better. If you're feeling angry, alcohol is going to make us feel even more angry. If you're feeling lonely, alcohol is going to amplify that feeling of loneliness. So you may turn to having a few drinks in the evening because you're bored, because you're feeling lonely, because you're feeling not connected. And what happens then, unfortunately, is you develop a tolerance. And this is how this can very easily lead into addictions. And one of the final things that I would say to people, if you are experiencing that loneliness, seek therapy. Go talk to a professional. Go speak with someone who wants to understand, who's going to help you understand what it is that you're going through, who can help you to explore options of what are right for you. So always consider professional help. You know, it's not a weakness to come and see someone like myself. It's a strength, it's a courage that maybe goes, actually, you know what, I just can't get a handle on this on my own. I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling sad. I think I need to go and talk to someone. Pick up the phone.